Roxie and the Hooligans by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. To Garrett Riley Naylor, the newest member of our family. With love. Chapter 1. Uncle Dangerfoot. When Uncle Dangerfoot came to visit, everything in the house had to be just so. The footstool was arranged in its place, the tea piping hot, the crumpets and jam on a platter, and Roxie Warbler watched for him at the door. The man who had wrestled alligators and jumped from planes was not to be kept waiting. "And there he is!" cried Mrs. Warbler, as her brother stepped handsomely out of a cab and came briskly up the walk. He wore a jungle helmet, a tan safari jacket with brass buttons, and he carried a long, slender cane, which could in an instant become a harpoon, a gun, an umbrella, or a walking stick, depending on the circumstances and the weather. 9-year-old Roxie looked forward to his visits, for he had traveled all over the world with Lord Thistlebottom from London, and Thistlebottom was famous for his book, Lord Thistlebottom's Book of Pitfalls and How to Survive Them. "Hello, Uncle Dangerfoot!" Roxie called, throwing open the door as he came up the steps. The man with the handlebar mustache smiled down at his niece and tapped her fondly on the head with his walking stick. And that was about all the attention Roxie would get from her uncle, for although she had put on her best blue dress and her patent leather shoes, and she had brushed her hair until her scalp tingled, Uncle Dangerfoot was not a man of emotion, and never hugged anyone if he could help it. Come in," said Roxie's father, shaking Uncle Dangerfoot's hand and ushering him to the big easy chair, with the footstool at the ready. "We're so glad to have you." "So eager to hear about your latest adventure," said Roxie's mother. Roxie stood to one side beaming, holding the platter of crumpets until her uncle noticed and helped himself. Then she sat down at the floor at his feet, waiting to leap to attention, should he need some extra cream for his tea or a second lump of sugar. "Oh, it was harrowing, let me tell you," said Uncle Dangerfoot, taking a small sip of tea, then biting into his crumpet and jam. "It was uncharted territory in Australia, and our canteens have long since gone dry." Roxie hung on every word, even though her uncle's stories tended to go on all evening. The crumpets and tea would be gone, and her uncle would still be talking. The flames in the fireplace would have died down and gone out, and he would still be talking. Sometimes Roxie was embarrassed by drifting off to sleep, in spite of herself, and her father would carry her upstairs and tuck her in bed. But parts of her uncle's stories always lingered in her head. "So there we were, our lips parched, our mouths full of dust, and our throats so dry we could scarcely speak. 'Do not panic,' Lord Thistlebottom said to me, as we followed the dry, straight bed. 'Look for a sharp bend in the bed, and keep an eye out for wet sand.' I, of course, having the sharper eye, spied it shortly, and there we dug down, 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 until we found seeping water." "I'm thirsty," Roxie murmured, her own lips feeling parched, her throat dry. She opened her eyes to find that, once again, she was back in her bed, a glass of water on the night table, the first faint glow of morning coming through her window shade, and Uncle Dangerfoot, of course, gone. She drank a little of the water and pulled the covers up under her chin. If only she could be as brave as her uncle. What a disappointment she must be! Not only did she sometimes fall asleep during his visits, but while he was afraid of nothing, Roxie Warbler was afraid of a lot of things. Thunder, lightning, tornadoes, floods, and most of all, public school number 37, where Helvetia's hooligans seemed to have chosen Roxie to be their victim of the year. It was her ears, of course. They were round ears, pink ears of the normal variety, and Roxie scrubbed them daily, inside and behind, but they stuck straight out from her head like the handles on a sugar bowl, the ears on an elephant, the bats on a wing. And though Roxie Warbler was neither fat nor thin, short nor tall, pretty nor plain, smart nor stupid, a perfectly average child in the 4th grade at public school number 37, Her ears were the first thing anyone noticed when they looked at her, and the only thing they seemed to remember. From that first day of school a month ago, when Roxie started up the walk to the building, Helvetia Haggis had watched her come, and her eyes narrowed. She did the eyes of her little band of hooligans, Simon Surley, Freddie Filch, and the smallest, leanest, meanest hooligan of them all, a wiry little hornet of a girl called Smoky Joe. When Roxie had got up close to them, it was Smoky Joe who squealed, "Why, Grandma, what big ears you have!" and the other hooligans laughed and hooted. Helvetia brayed like a donkey, "Hee-haw! Hee-haw!" Simon howled like a hyena, "Hoo-hoo-ha-ha! Hoo-hoo-ha-ha!" Freddie called like a crow, "Caw-caw! Caw-caw!" and Smoky Joe squealed like a mouse, "Ee-caw! Ee-caw! Ee-caw!" Together their braying and howling and cawing and squeaking sounded to Roxie like feeding time at the circus, and trouble for Roxie Warbler. Roxie had tried her best to smile and be friendly, but that only made the teasing worse. "I think we ought to take those ears to the sides of her head where they belong," said Helvetia Haggis, our large-boned girl with a square face and a square frame, who wore her knee socks well down to her ankles. "I think we ought to find something to hang on those ears," said Simon Surley, who was as tall and skinny as a broom. When he was feeling nasty his lips curled down on the left side and up on the right. "I think we ought to find something to pour in those ears," said Freddie Filch, a round, red-faced boy who wheezed when he talked. Smoky Joe had eyes that positively gleamed, and her short hair circled her hair like a barbed wire fence. "I think we should hang her up by the ears," she squealed, and they brayed and howled and cawed and squeaked some more. Every day it happened again, only each day the hooligans crowded a little closer around Roxie. It did not happen in the classroom, where the teacher and Miss Crumbly could see, and Roxie did not want to bother her parents about it, for how could the niece of the man who braved sandstorms and avalanches tell her parents that she was afraid of a small band of hooligans on the playground? She had almost memorized Lord Thistlebottom's book by heart. Every bit of advice was followed by the admonition, "Do not panic." Roxie knew that if she were ever lost in the desert, she should try to stay at least 12 inches off the ground, because the ground could be 30 degrees hotter than the air. Do not panic. She knew that if you are jumping from a plane and your parachute does not open, head for water if you can. Do not panic. Roxie knew that if she found herself on top of a moving train, she should not try to stand up. Do not panic. But she did not know what to do about Helvetia's hooligans, who had chosen Roxie Warbler to tease and torment and otherwise make miserable for every day of her life in public school number 37.